Hi, welcome back to my channel. My name is Anna, and these are all the books I do want to read in the month of April. Now, this list is a little bit pretentious because I have not read more than 8 books since the start of the year. In January, I read 5, February, I read 8, and in March, I only read 2 books. So, needless to say, I'm still aiming for that 150 book goal at the end of the year. And I'm still trying to read 12 books every month while writing a fantasy book of my own. Also, on my writing channel, I'm currently doing a 30-day reading challenge where I'm seeing how many fantasy books I can read in a month. But so, for the most part, I do know what some of these books are. Others I did know, I no longer remember. And for the ones that I do know the synopsis for, I give you like a brief little synopsis so you get a vibe of what I'll be reading. We're going to start off with The Lion, the Witch, and the Wardrobe. This is my library's copy. This follows 4 siblings, I think Susan, Edmund, Peter, and Lucy. This happened during like a wartime, and they went to live with this old professor, and he has this magical wardrobe. I'm still this year I made a commitment that I do want to finish as many series as possible. And I'm also currently doing this for a reading vlog. If you've been here long enough, you've seen this book multiple times when I've done this video. This is the last book in the Shadow Hunters trilogy. I think it more likely is gonna pick it up right where book 2 left off, and I think book 2 left off where Elena and the rest of the Grishas were like running from the Darkling. I'm also, if you've seen my 25 fantasy books that I want to read, this is on it. This is the second book in the Harry Potter series. This is the Chamber of Secret, also my library's copy. I've watched the movie multiple times, so I know what it will be about. However, back in 2023, I think the last of 2023, I did read the first one. This is the Philosopher's Stone or the Sorcerer's Stone. And a lot happened in the book that did not make it to the screen. And it made me love the series more when I read book 1. So I want to finish the remaining series. It's also on my 25 fantasy books that I want to read too. So then these last 2 physical books I'm currently doing a series for. This is The Kingdom of Sweets, which is a Nutcracker retelling. I'm a big lover of the Nutcracker series. I've movies. I've watched multiple of them as a child. I haven't watched any as an adult. So, and also I've been meaning. This has been on my TBR for like a really long time. This was one of the first when I started reading. I got book of the month. This is the first book of the month I got because it was really popular, which is The Seven Husbands of Evelyn Hugo, which I think follows this celebrity and this journalist who is going to write about her life or something along that line. So the other books I want to read, I don't physically own. I'm currently on a little thing where I'm not buying any more books right now. So I've been borrowing a lot of books and audiobooks on loan from the multiple libraries I'm a part of. So I have my notebook here. If you've been here long enough, you know how obsessed I'm with this notebook. So we're just gonna go through. On the first on the list was The Invisible Life of Addie LaRue. And I had the ebook at one point, but now I was listening to the audiobook, and I love Julia Whelan. However, since I've listened to the book called Happy Place, anytime I hear her in an audiobook, I keep hearing our Harriet and Will. Will was his name, right? I keep hearing their voice, and it's currently taking me out of the audiobook, so I'm gonna wait until I get the ebook again before I continue this. So I probably might not read this book, but I do want to read this book because I love any book that speaks about immortality in any form or shape. So we have the Ministry of Magic, and I know it's the Ministry of Time, but I keep saying that if you've watched Harry Potter long enough, I keep saying by default the Ministry of Magic, but it's the Ministry of Time. I actually started reading this yesterday, and I don't know how I feel about the writing. There are a lot of descriptions and the way it's written. It's kind of funny, not funny, weird, but I'm obsessed with time travel as well. So here we are. I do want to read, or I'm more like finish One Dark Window, which follows this girl who has this demon voice inside her head. So there's that. Then there's Powerless. I'm gonna be honest, I have no idea what Powerless is about, and I mostly want to read it because of the whole drama that went on between Red Queen and Powerless. So then there's Six of Crow. If you are obsessed with the whole Shadow and Bone trilogy or the whole Shadow and Bone on Netflix, then you know about Kaz Breca and his gang. And so it's only fair that I'm reading Six of Crows too. So then we have Quicksilver, which once again have no idea what Quicksilver is about, but I do have a TikTok account and this book has been talked about a lot. And I recently discovered something called rant reviews. And I think I'm gonna start doing some rant reviews of my own because there were so many books I read last year that I really thought other people need to know how awful they were or how good they were too. So I want to start doing rant reviews of my own, and Quicksilver has been on the list. Like, there are so many people complaining about how bad it is, and I just want to see for myself. So we'll also be reading Shatter Me when I just started reading again as an adult back in 2023. Now let me say I've always read, but normally it would be like one book a year or something along that line. 2023 was the year I commit that I want to start reading more because I love reading as much as I love watching TV shows. So there's that. And Shatter Me was one of those books that were constantly recommended to me, and I say, this might be the year that I might finally read the Shatter Me series. Once again, have no idea what it is about. I'm one of those people. I like. I will pick up a book based on the cover. I'll pick up a book based on how much is recommended to me. I'm that person. Sometimes I like to go into a book knowing nothing because sometimes when let me use Iron Flame and Fort Wing. It was hyped up on TikTok and all over the place, but I didn't really follow what was about or anything along that line. I just know that people kept saying that it had too much smut, and I was like, that was one of the reasons why I didn't want to read it because when they write smut in book, it's always awful to me, especially in fantasy books. And I read it and I enjoyed it, and I this smut they made it seem as if the book was like every other page was smut, and I read it for myself, and that was not the case. However, after reading Iron Flame, a lot of people took to the internet saying how awful it was. And I'm really glad that I read it before because as much as people like to say they're not influenced by other people's views, I know when I go to shop online sometimes, if too much people have rated something 1 star, I'm like, maybe I don't need to buy that. So, but every once in a while, I just have to see for myself. I know I went on a little rant, but we're moving along. I do want to read. Okay, I recently did a series. I'm gonna link it right here about like the difference in like romantasy now versus when I was a kid, and it wasn't really romantasy. It was just more like fantasy with romance. And so I rediscovered a book called Vampire Academy, and I really loved watching the movie and also loved watching the TV show. Peacock or Paramount, one of those P name subscription services, streaming services, is not going to renew it, but I love the concept, and I think that they don't make books like that anymore. And so I want to read the entire. Um, it's on the list of 25 books I want to read this year, which I'll leave a link to that right here too. to just I started rereading the series, and as much as I've watched the movie multiple times and I've watched the TV show once, everything just still feels so new, so fresh, and they just don't make books like this anymore. We're moving along. I do want to finish another series, which is Finale. Now, if you've been here long enough, you know how much I hated book two because Stella, that girl. Oh, Stella, she just never shuts up. It's Dante this, it's Legend this, it's you know. But I have this thing where I have this need where I think I have to finish things that I've started, and that's why I find it so hard sometimes to DNF a book. I had to DNF a book yesterday, and it's because it was this book right here. It is, I think, Apprentice to the Villain. I read book one for a 24-hour reading vlog, and at the time I read it, I was trying to grapple at the fantasy of the world, and I was like, hey, maybe book two would tell me more. And then I started reading books, and I realized I'm just as confused as book one is like. And then I remember one of the goals I set for myself. I want to practice the art of DNFing books that I'm not enjoying. So then I I had Kingdom of Sweets on this list, so we're just gonna skip past that. Then I do want to read The Hating Game, which I do have the physical book somewhere. I have the physical book, but I'm just gonna insert a picture right here. Um, I'm currently doing this for a reading vlog where I'm reading books that have been made into movies. So this follows like the whole workplace rivalry. The movie is starring Lucy Hale, and I really don't like Lucy Hale movies. I watched her in Pretty Little Liars, where she was with the prince. She was Ari, and she was with Ezra, the teacher. And as a child, no, as a child, I would have eat that up, but I watched Pretty Little Liars as an adult, and I was like, nah. Ugh. Then the last book I had on my list was one of the books I already showed to you. So those are just all the books that I do want to read this month. Fingers crossed, this time we actually read 12 books or more. And so let me know, what are some books that you want to read this month? Um, are any of my books on your list? And if you've been here through my little rant and all of that, thank you so much for watching. And I hope you have a wonderful year, month, week, day, hour, minute, second. And I'll see you in another vlog. Bye.